Austin, Texas. Please put your hands together for Fast Ronald!
All kinds of people pulled up, man. I see some rockers. I see some fools who look like they live on a street that definitely doesn't have a street light. I see one fool that owes me money. That's a bold move. You better be drinking water, fool, I swear to God. I like this place because they let me in. I don't always get let in. Sometimes I get to the front door of an establishment, security won't even respect me enough to use language. Just a confused face and a sideways moving finger. Chill, fool, I'm just trying to rent a DVD from the library. The other day I got let in. One of those fancy spots where the bartender wears an apron to protect him from citrus. I was waiting in line to order my classic combination of sexy beverage. Pineapple juice and a sparkling water. And I was confronted with one of my biggest fears. Direct eye contact with a drunk white woman. I've been studying spontaneous combustion, so I was looking around for an emergency exit, just in case. And as soon as our eyes met, she stumbled over. She took a deep breath. Oh my God. Oh my God. You look like so much fun. And then she gave me a nose pop. And believe it or not, I've been in this exact situation before, where I've had to be the bringer of truth. And I don't like being the bringer of truth because truth hurts. And you never know how someone's gonna react to it. But in life I've learned that bravery is rewarded with experience. So I took a deep breath. Oh my God. Oh my God. I do not sell you cocaine. And then she just disappeared. But she wasn't wrong. I used to sell drugs, then I retired, and now I'm poor. But once upon a time, I was so hood rich, I almost bought a baby tiger. The crime homie hit me up one day. Hey fool, you wanna buy any illegal lasers or a baby tiger? I had to do some research. I discovered tigers do not have imposable thumbs. So I didn't get it. Because if they did, my tiger would be on stage right now holding some illegal lasers. I'm not involved in anything criminal except true crime. I love true crime so much, I go to actual court to get my fix. You can go to almost any open court case and watch someone's entire life unfold before your eyes. Episode after episode. It's the best reality show not on TV. People got their favorite podcast, their favorite docuseries. I got my favorite district. Judge Soto, District 8, nothing but bangers. They don't like it when you clap in court, I found out, but. Always been paranoid about looking too suspicious. Until one day I realized that the sketchier I look, the easier my life becomes. I don't know if you fools ever been in the produce section of a grocery store where they sell fruits and vegetables. And there's a perfectly ripe mango. And I mean, this thing is glowing with beauty. It looks like some indigenous fool with a bowl haircut picked it with his little jungle hand that morning. You walk up to that mango the same time as a complete stranger. And your heart starts to race as the mystery sets in. Because you don't know what's gonna happen. Are they gonna grab the mango? Are you gonna grab the mango? I don't have to worry about that. Because they just let me have it. Life is so easy, old women open the door for me in public. At first I thought it was kindness, until I realized that it's something I can exploit for free things. Now when I'm out being social, but I need to save some money, I try to find someone that looks like they have a curious fear of culture. And I'll give them a head nod from across the room. And I start making my way over all big-chested, like a pigeon took some steroids. I get about halfway, I start dancing just a little bit. To add some confusion. Confusion is a very important part of this tactic. Then when I finally get face to face, I always change my voice to add a little authenticity. And that. Hey, I just got out that. I don't got no money that. Can you buy me a pineapple juice? That. Never fails. Easiest loophole I've ever found for a free drink. I haven't been arrested in years, but now every time I'm out, it's on parole. It's not as fun as the last loophole I had for free drinks, which was flirting with old men at the gay bar and then giving them my roommate's number. I had to stop because I got in trouble. My roommate came home one day. I keep getting these weird pictures of this old guy's small dick. Calm down, size queen. I'm pretty sure you're talking about Phil. I told him I was a nice guy, so hit him up. I had to stop hanging out with my queer homies. They're the most dangerous individuals that exist. All they do is party and boost your confidence. These fools had me fully convinced that I could not only participate, but that I could win RuPaul's Drag Race. Telling me they'd never seen a motherfucker so fierce. They had me practicing dramatic turns in my room for months, talking about and then one morning I snapped out of it. It was like 4 a.m. I was tucking for comfort. Looking up sewing patterns. I didn't even have a sewing machine or a baby tiger assistant that could work a pair of scissors. So I started practicing my turns, but my rat tail was loose, so I was whipping back and forth, making that sound, like when you swing a stick in the wind. I thought everything was cool, but I guess it was too loud because then my roommate started banging on my door. Shh, I'm trying to talk to Phil. I was in a queer relationship once when I lived in LA. I was dating this girl for a while. One day we're getting all blazed out, watching Polar Express, starring Tom Hanks. And she asked me if I could pause the movie because she needed to talk about something important. Which was confusing because once you start Polar Express, what could be more important? I paused the movie. She began to explain to me how she felt more comfortable identifying as a man than she did a woman. She was going to begin a transition by changing her name from Krista to Chris with a K. Usually I'm down for whatever, but in this moment, I was in judgment. I couldn't believe someone I invested so much time and energy into can have a complete disregard for creativity. I understand they probably chose Chris to have some familiarity, and I'm not trying to make this all about me. But if I'm gonna start having sex with a man, I need a man with a name a little more exciting than Chris with a K. Chris with a K sounds like a selfish lover. I need a man with a name that sounds like he's gonna teach me a thing or two. How about Chris with an X? We broke up. But it was my grandma's fault. My grandma was a woman who loved life as much as she hated my dad. She was always trying to get me to turn against him. Her favorite way was this little game called Different Allegations on Who Your Father Really Is. I'd be in my room, burning crayons, trying to smell color. She would come in, Mijo, this is your real dad. And my mind would explode with confusion as she showed me the obituary of some fool I've never seen before. She did this repeatedly throughout my childhood. It really had a negative effect. So you fast forward to adult life, Chris broke up with me because he said I couldn't express my emotions properly. And I told him, hey, that's not fair, fool, because you don't know what it's like to lose 4 fathers. Me and my grandma graduated high school the same year. Let me explain how. The year I walked the stage is the year my grandma got her GED. It was the same year everyone in my family got a framed and autographed copy of that GED for Christmas. My grandma had a strong mind that she was not afraid to express, which made it harder to accept her mental decline as she aged and developed Alzheimer's. I would go visit it, and I would get angry because she couldn't recognize who I was anymore. She would always get me confused with other members of my family. One time she got me confused with my skinnier, more successful cousin. That's a girl. She just kept grabbing my rat tail. Mija, wahapa. Wahapa. And this was a real emotional crossroads because I knew I couldn't be selfish and get angry. These moments were about my grandma's happiness. And I knew her well enough to understand exactly what made her happy. So I did what any loving person would do. I lied to her. Started visiting with my copy of her GED. Hey, Grandma, just taking a break from going to church with my 5 kids to show you my new degree. Mira, Harvard, class of yesterday. I was on my way to visit when my mom called me to let me know that she was being rushed to the hospital, where she eventually passed. And a few weeks after her funeral, my family got together at her favorite Mexican restaurant, where they have free-range mariachis. I don't know if you've ever experienced free-range mariachis, but you can't defend yourself against the free-range mariachis. You sit down, they walk up, pump a little air, lay a couple eggs, then you owe them $45. I was sitting next to my grandpa while everyone was coming by to give their condolences. He just sat there with a stoned face, nodding quietly. And I remember thinking how impressed I was by his ability to remain balanced through tragedy. But then I look over, this fool's hearing aids just flown in a cup of sweet tea. He saw the free-range mariachis coming. After dinner, my aunt stood up to make an announcement. I knew it was gonna be serious because she rarely stands. And she let everyone know that she was gonna pass out some gifts. I got excited, I thought my grandma left me a $5 I was like, hell yeah, if one will buy 2 lottery tickets and a cigarette. And my aunt eventually made her way over. She handed me an envelope with my name spelled wrong. Ronald. I started to open it and she stopped me. No, that's grandma. She put my grandma's ashes in the envelope like she was sending in a late electric bill. She couldn't even put her in a Coke bag. I didn't know what to do with it, so I went home, I put it in my junk drawer next to my measuring tape and some AAA batteries. I just kind of forgot about it. What I didn't forget about a few months later were the multiple hits of acid I had stored in the same drawer. I had a rare 2 days off from work. 2 days is a vacation. I like to party on vacation, so I took the acid. Sat down on the couch, started practicing my 1997 Honda Accord impression. I was about to switch from 3rd or 4th gear when I started having what science calls an old school freak out. Because in my acid mind, I just ate my grandma's ashes. I laid back on the couch, tried to relax by staring at the ceiling, but the ceiling was made of those little balls of texture that shape-shifted into my grandma with Jesus in heaven. And I got starstruck. Jesus? I heard of this fool. And then my grandma started to speak. Mijo. Mijo. Then she took a deep breath. And she gave me a nose pop. And I was so confused. When did my grandma turn into Mexican Dracula? Mijo. She had a cape on. I live up the street from my grandma's house in this little duplex behind a sex motel and a 24-hour hamburger restaurant, where 2 things happen daily. Every morning, my little autistic duplex neighbor will ask me what grade I'm in. And I never know how to answer because I'm trying to figure out how we got in my car before me. Magician. And every evening on my stroll, the old lady that lives at the sex motel will offer me a blowjob for some cigarettes. Which, if I'm being honest, a bargain. I'm no expert on economics. I fraud the US government for EBT so I could buy a $17 piece of cheese that has a letter combination never seen in America. Can't even pronounce it. But here's what I know. A few months ago, a blowjob was 3 cigs. That's fair. A few weeks ago, that same blowjob, 7 cigarettes. No additional technique. I asked. If we don't figure something out soon, a blowjob's gonna be 10 cigs. I'm good. Sometimes things can be a little dangerous. One time I was walking to the corner store and I ended up in the ER. And the nurse asked me what happened. I calmly explained. Got bit by a dog, then immediately beat up by its lesbian owner. And the nurse got upset. How did you know that she was a lesbian? When you get bit by a dog, and you kick your way to freedom, and then its owner starts chasing you screaming, hey motherfucker, you ever got your ass beat by a lesbian? It's easy. There's a lot of homeless people in my neighborhood, but I like to call them the outside homies. I used to be an outside homie, so I don't like to see people just walk past them. Imagine being at your lowest point and no one has the courtesy to give you recognition. That's why I always try to be as engaging as possible. I will never give them any money, but I look them directly in the eyes when I say no. It's respect. When you sleep outside, you experience levels of jealousy you didn't know were possible. One night, I was woken up to the sound of this outside homie sucking this other outside homie's dick. And I mean, he was working. It sounded like he was pumping gas in 1937. Just a full tank. And I'm sitting there, and the only thought on my mind is, both these fools are having a better day than me. Things are changing though. Gentrification's happening. You ever seen those birdhouses white people like to build for books? Those are everywhere. I finally went to one. There was only 2 books inside. It was a book on real estate, and it was Hitler's book, Mein Kampf. A beginner's guide to racism. And I was shocked, because even on my block, we're in a war for ideology. And then it scared me, because white people's record with war is incredible. The fools like never lose. You lost one time, you lost a civil war, and you lost to yourself. I wanted to understand why they were there, so I read through the real estate book, took a few notes on property value, how to control it. I read through Mein Kampf, and now this is what I do every day. I stand in my front yard and I work out shirtless for hours. Anytime one of my white neighbors walks by, I hit him with a zing heil, good morning, Kyle. Because if a shirtless, tattooed Mexican working out in his front yard throwing you Nazi gang signs isn't enough to reconsider where to live, we're all gonna be paying 10 cigs for a blowjob. I like living in the hood, it keeps me humble. I don't got the luxury of a TV like I'm a king of the world. But what I have is YouTube on my cell phone. I like to get high and watch conspiracy theory videos. Who's ever seen a conspiracy on how Bush didn't do 9/11? It gets deep. Sometimes I like to get high and then watch videos of other people getting high on YouTube. One time I was watching this video, these 2 guys racing to see who could smoke an ounce of weed the fastest. Then it kind of morphed into this debate on whether or not weed was a gateway drug, or if it was medicinal. At first I was biased because weed's been a part of my life since grade school. Me and the homies would just get high and lift weights with terrible form. When you're young, trying to bench press, you got one strong arm, it'll be all the way up like this. And you got a weak arm that'll be struggling like this. And you start looking around for help, but your homies are too busy smoking weed out of an RC Cola can. So then you hurt yourself. And then you gotta smoke weed out of an RC Cola can. It always been medicinal. And the more I thought about it, I decided it was a gateway. It's a gateway to my emotions. And the most dangerous drug of all, love. I was at a wedding recently, overwhelmingly high, so I thought it'd be easier to hide my jealousy. But I was so high that when the wine got passed around, I had a few glasses, and I forgot. I I don't do well on reds. I made a classic mistake. I mixed raw human emotion with technology. I got on Instagram, I liked 8 pictures of my ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. Immediately realized how psychotic that was, so that I blocked her. After the wedding, I went home and went to sleep. I woke up the next day to a text message from an unsaved number that read, "Hey, have you been smoking weed and drinking Merlot again?" I panicked, responded, "Hey, did you know Bush didn't do 9/11? One time the algorithm showed me 10 best prison fights caught on camera, which I thought was just gonna be 37 minutes of pure entertainment. Till I was on fight 3, stressing how I'd survive maximum security. I started formulating a prison tiramisu recipe. I tried it out on a date, not impressed. She just kept asking, "Why are we eating tiramisu in the restroom?" I got so paranoid I started following a prison survival YouTube channel where the host said one of the easiest ways to gain respect is to have a good physique. So I started working out, lost a noticeable amount of weight, 0 compliments. I sat there, I was like, man, this is some bullshit, because you know who would have shown me some love? All the homies on the yard. When I was at my worst, I was just under 400. And when you're that big, it affects everything about you. The way you think, the way you feel. I didn't have a full night's sleep for years because I was always having these night terrors. It was kind of like sleep paralysis, but there was never a demon. It was diabetes. I would enter this dream state where I could see my own body. And then I look over, and diabetes would be floating in the corner of my room, doing lines of powdered sugar. And then it'll start floating over to me. He'll peel back the blanket to expose my bare foot. Then start tickling my toe, whispering, neuropathy. Then I wake up eating tiramisu in the restroom. I don't know how things got so bad. But I know I don't blame myself fully. I'm just a human. And I'll justify self-destruction every chance I get, especially if it has cheese on it. I'll pull up to a drive-thru and let me get one self-destruction burger with cheese and an Arnold Palmer. Yeah, I also blame everyone around me. 'Cause there used to be checks and balances amongst friends and family. But then it seemed like from one day to the next, the love required to have necessary conversation was replaced by the fear of offending someone with truth. But people need truth. Because the truth was, I was fat. I used to wear this blue shirt, size 4X, in public, looking like the ocean walk-in. And no one said a thing. Everybody just let me be the Gulf of Mexico. The truth was, I was addicted to food. One time I went to the hood Chinese buffet, and I got a plate of 57 crab rangoons. And the owner just smiled at me because he was impressed. Everyone was always so supportive. But when you're an addict, you don't need support. You need help. There's a difference. Support can be dangerous. Support's like the time I was kicking it with my 2 homies and I go, hey, we should get 300 chicken nuggets because we can. And then we did. And I lost years of my life to sodium that day because of support. And goddamn honey mustard. You need to help the people you love. like my best friend in high school. I gained a bunch of weight my senior year, but I was lying to myself, saying it wasn't that serious, when in reality, I had bought someone else's passcode so I could eat 2 lunches, which I thought was smart. We're passing each other in the hallway first day back after winter break. He just leans in. Damn, fool, you got some titties for Christmas? All the help I needed. I went home and lost 40 pounds that night. I've always had an addictive personality. Sometimes I go to these love and sex addict classes where it's difficult to start because the first step is sobriety, which is boring. But I knew if I could party once more, I could do it. So one night, stayed home, took a bunch of mushrooms, started thinking about how crazy the world would be if the Flintstones were Mexican. Hola, Wilma. Then I had an epiphany. All my problems with women stem from my inability to end relationships with them. Then another light bulb went off. I'm in the future. I can just put these women in a group text and end everything in one fell swoop. So that's what I did. Put these women in a group text. And in all capital letters I sent, fuck all y'all. And then I immediately threw up. And I was tripping so hard, I just kept staring at the puddle going, oh, this is what regret looks like. It sparkles. I didn't know what to do, so I turned off my cell phone. I went to my room, tried to calm down. But I couldn't, because my rat tail just kept asking me, what'd you yabba dabba do? So I turned on my cell phone, 143 unread text messages that I deleted. And I just wanted to feel better, so I made a phone call. Mama, I love you. Love me? What happened to fuck all y'all? Thank you so much.